Darren, thank you so much for being here, man. It's so good to meet you
Thank you,
and talk
Pastor.
to you again. I'm going to start off with some softball questions, okay?
Yeah.
Listen, 3-time Super Bowl champion.
Yes.
5-time Pro Bowler. 4-time first team something.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Crazy tackles
Yeah.
and interceptions and touchdowns. Tell me, what was your favorite of all the things you've accomplished? And by the way, with the Cowboys, your whole career, right?
Yes, 13
Yeah.
years, yes.
So what was your favorite, or what is your favorite Cowboys memory?
We played the first Super Bowl. We played in California, in LA, in the Rose Bowl. We played the Buffalo Bills. And it wasn't the game itself, it was after the game.
Okay.
And after the game was a celebration. We won the game. It was 52-17. It was pretty much, we ran away with it in the second half. And we were celebrating on the sidelines, and I get in the locker room, and the celebrations are going, and having a good time. And I'm a rookie, and I'm standing next to Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith was a rookie.
Yes.
We both came in that same year, and we're walking in, and we're high-fiving, and you can imagine the joy after playing a long season and winning that game. And I remember 2 guys on the ground that were hugged up and they were crying, and it was Bill Bates and Mark Tuinei.
Wow.
And I couldn't understand why. Look, it was to me at 21 years old, we just won the Super Bowl. Why are we crying? The Bills should be crying.
Right.
So I'm looking down and I'm seeing these 2 crying on the ground, and I had one of the trainers who had been there for years.
Yeah.
His name was Buck Buchanan. He had been there with the Cowboys through the Landry days.
Wow.
And 30, 40 years as the Cowboys equipment manager, I should say. And he walked up and he says, "You know why those guys are on the ground?" And I said, crying like that. And I said, "No, sir, I have no idea." And he said, "Because they went through the 1-16 seasons.
Yes.
They saw their idol, Tom Landry, who was a pillar in this community, get fired.
Yeah.
They went through so many ups and downs for years, 12, 13. It was Bill Bates' 12th year, 13th year in the league.
Wow.
And they had never sniffed a Super Bowl. That's the reason. And that memory I'll always remember.
Wow.
Because that memory was something. The next year I came in, I said, you know what? There's no gimmies.
No.
And we ended up winning back to back. And then, but for the rest of my career, I won in the first 3 out of my first 4 years. We won a Super Bowl, but then I was in purgatory. And this organization is still in purgatory
Unfortunately.
for the last 25 years.
Yes.
So, it just really took me back to know how big that moment was.
It's huge. Yeah.
It was
So speaking of Super Bowls and so forth, a coach moment, right, in the locker room maybe, or a practice, what is one of the speeches that you remember the most?
I would say Jimmy Johnson.
Okay.
And I had a lot of great coaches
Yes.
in my time. Bill Parcells was one of the greatest
Yes.
coaches of all time. Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, many of them. I remember playing against the San Francisco 49ers, and we were playing here in the NFC Championship game, and it was in 1993. And we were back. We had won the Super Bowl, and we were going to play the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game for the next year, and we were going to the Super Bowl the next week. So, huge game.
Yes.
I mean, the build-up for that game, 2 best teams in the league. That was the Super Bowl, basically.
Absolutely.
And Jimmy had come out the day before and made a predicament on national radio that we were going to kick the San Francisco 49ers. I can't say it, Pastor.
Good choice.
He made this prediction, and he said it to the national media the day before the game. So you can imagine, we're like, this is the NFC Championship game, and Coach, you put us out there to win this game. And he said, before he walked out, and it's the best thing he ever said, he said, I said what I meant, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So get your out there and let's go kick some. And I've heard some speeches before, but the fire, because your coach believed in you.
Absolutely.
He had, like, hey, listen, I look at my life, and God has been there for me in so many ways. Wow. And, I know God looks at me, but he won't say it that way. Jesus may not say it that way.
Exactly.
But he says, I believe in you.
Wow.
And because I believe in you, you can do all things. And
my goodness.
I mean, that was the fire that burned that day. And that's one of the things I always remember.
That is such an interesting memory of a coach speech. Okay, so last softball. The person you least looked forward to covering.
Jerry Rice.
Of course.
Jerry Rice was the last guy I wanted to see. Jerry Rice, I could not sleep the night before.
Really?
Because I was the safety who had to come down, and when Jerry Rice moved into the slot, I covered him in the slot.
Oh, man.
And that was the guy that brought fear to me every day. And he's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest receiver, probably, arguably the best player to ever play the game.
Yeah.
And he could always change the course of a game at any time. So he was the guy that you knew the night before that you had to play a full 3-hour game, 4 quarters, and it never stopped because he was never going to give you a lack of effort.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I think everybody would say that.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say Randy Moss as well. Randy Moss, because even if I had Randy Moss covered, he'd figure out a way to get the ball. And he was that dynamic as a football player.
That's good. All right. So all these teams that you've played on, and some of them Super Bowl and some of them not. What is essential for a great team?
Adaptability.
Really? To explain. Go on.
I would say, listen, talent-wise in the NFL, the talent level is about the same.
Yeah.
It's the teams that are able to adapt during the course of a game, be able to adapt during the week of preparation for a game. The reason why we look at the New England Patriots, if I brought out the Dallas Cowboys right now and had their roster on one side of the field, and I brought out the New England Patriots and had their roster, I'm picking most of the Cowboy players.
Absolutely.
But when you think about the way Bill Belichick coaches a team, he's always able to adapt.
Wow.
And the great teams that I played for, the games would always be close. Even though we were Super Bowl champs, the games would always be close.
Yeah.
But we would go in at halftime, and our coaches would be able to adapt the scheme, change the game plan, put these little wrinkles in. And that's what propelled us to be that much better. Talent-wise, we're about the same.
Yeah.
But if I'm smarter than you, or I can get to a spot before you, that's how you win football games. And it is no different in life. If I can adapt in life.
Yeah. That is so good.
Yeah.
So speaking of that adaptability and being on the field, who was your favorite teammate?
My favorite
to play
teammate.
with? And then why?
If I say this, because there's going to be, I'm sure one of my teammates, one of my former teammates is going to be in the audience this week, and I'm sure I'm going to hear it. I would say.
Let's say it this way: your favorite.
One of my favorite teammates was a guy by the name of Tony Tolbert.
Yeah. Why?
And because Tony Tolbert was a defensive end for our football team.
Right.
Wasn't a Hall of Famer, never made the Pro Bowl. But he was a guy, he played opposite of Charles Haley. He was a guy that taught me how to be a pro in this league.
Wow.
Showed up every day, hour, 2 hours before practice.
Wow.
Worked out in the morning, did all the little things it took to be available. And to be available in the NFL is huge. If you can just to be available, that means something, because that means your team can count on you. And he did all the little things it took. He never got the credit.
Wow.
Never was a guy that raised a ruckus. He did what was right for the team. Not so much for Tony. He did what was right for the team to be successful. And I thought, he was the epitome of teammate. Yeah. Never, in 9 years before his knees started to go really bad, he went 9 straight years, never missed a practice.
Wow.
Not a practice. And that spoke to who Tony Tolbert was. Again, a lot of people won't even know Tony Tolbert.
Right.
But he was, there was Deion Sanders, there was Emmitt Smith, there was Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman. Tony Tolbert's the guy who always, even today, he's consistent.
Wow. So obviously 13 years, right?
13 years.
In the pros, played college. Now, well, obviously last season was 2003?
2004.
2004.
Yeah.
Okay, so from 2004 to now, obviously you've gone on with life.
Yes.
There is life after football.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I think. Who are you surrounding yourself with now that is making your life better? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Who's in your life right now, speaking into your life?
Yeah.
Not just coaching, maybe even friendships, but Who's in your life right now that you're surrounding yourself with that makes Darren Woodson a better man?
A guy named David Shivers. I can throw it to you right now. I'll tell
Wow.
you right now. His name's David Shivers. He's at Prestonwood Church.
I was going to say, I've heard of that name.
Yes, yeah, and speaks to me, prays for me every day. Man, I get emotional when I talk about Shiv. Man,
It's all right. That's good.
man, that's good. Boy,
How did he come into your life?
things were good in life. We used to play basketball together,
Mm.
and he's a pastor, associate pastor at Prestonwood Church, and
Yeah.
we played basketball together, and just a good man.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
you always knew him. I knew him when he was young. He was a good man. He always had what was right in his heart. But, in my best of times, he's praying for me.
Wow.
He's still saying that prayer for me. In my worst of times, I lost my brother last year, and my David Shivers called me each and every day, came by the house. He's just a loyal man. And I can't thank him enough. He's someone that you probably wouldn't even know, but he's someone that, I want to be like.
Yeah.
Shivers.
Yeah.
I want to make a
Wow.
difference in
That's a
people's
compliment.
lives, and I think Shivers is that guy that made a huge day in my
Wow.
life.
So you've been around teams so much, and now you got, and I'm sure there's others in your
Mm-hmm.
life too, but David Shivers. So our guys out here, our theme obviously is never ride alone.
Yeah.
I'm a big motorcycle guy. I love riding Harleys and Indians and whatever motorcycle. I love them. And you know what? I love riding. There's something about alone because you are a talent. You didn't get to where you were because of anybody else in the sense of it's you. You're a
Right.
talent. Now somebody coached you, somebody
Yeah,
trained you,
absolutely.
and so it takes a village and all those things. But our guys, normal guys, I don't know, maybe some of them played football, maybe some of them didn't, but what would you tell our guys, having walked the walk that you've walked, been through the valleys, been
Yeah.
through the mountains, in your not just football career,
Right.
but in your life, what would you tell them about their lives right now? Because they're listening, and everybody idolizes football players, maybe to a fault, but you're a regular guy now. You love the Lord.
Right.
What would you tell them to help them? A last piece of advice.
Man, I would say I'm a coward. Really.
Wow.
I am. I mean, people always look at me and they say, well, you've won 3 Super Bowls and you've done all these, and they give you all these accolades. You read most of them off.
Yeah.
And every day I wake up and the first thing I do is put my feet on the ground and I get on my knees and I say a prayer.
Wow.
Because I have to walk into the bathroom. And I play this game with myself sometimes, but I walk into that bathroom and look in the mirror and I know the coward that's in that mirror. And I'm not the only one that looks in that mirror every day and knows that I have to rely on God every single day. My walk with Jesus has to be there every single day to strengthen me, to put the body of armor on. And it's every day.
Wow.
Every day. So I don't discount. I know who the coward is. I know what I have to do to put that coward and the devil off to the side, put him in the back seat and say, hey, I'm going to ride today. It's going to be on me. So I always know who I am based on my faith and based on the belief in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I always think right now, and you said it earlier about in life, I've never done anything by myself.
Yeah.
Not one accomplishment have I ever done by myself.
good.
That it was, hey, Darren Woodson did
Right.
No, please. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have been there to support me. How many Christian brothers and sisters. My wife is a beautiful woman, but I've had so many people in my life that have touched me and affected me in a positive way.
Absolutely.
So, what can I say? Hey, look, I'm a coward, but I'm not a coward when I put that body of armor on. I'm
That's
a
right.
warrior when that happens.
Absolutely. And never ride alone.
That's right.
Buddy, thank
Good
you,
seeing
man.
you. Thanks,
So
Pastor.
good to be
Appreciate
with you
it, man.
guys.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you guys.